Welcome to Shoponomics, brought to you by eMarketed, a digital agency working with small business that drives leads and revenue. On this show, you'll learn from experts with a combined 40 years of experience in selling online how to master the art of e-commerce. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Ramage and Daniel Solomon.
My name is Matt, this is Daniel, and we are from eMarketed, and we're just going to jump in and learn more about Nigel and his agency and DTC marketing, and really excited. So let's jump in. Why don't you, I guess, give us a little background on yourself first? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, sure. So honestly, about 14 months ago, I mean, we can go further back. I've got about 5 years of experience in the digital marketing space, but about 14 months ago, I was chewed up and spat out of another startup. That was actually a marketing agency in the real estate space. And I found myself kind of staring down the barrel at a lot of debt, and I didn't really know what to do. So I reached out to Josh Graham, who's actually the founder of Alpha Inbound. And he was kind of spinning his wheels somewhat. He didn't know what to do, what direction to take the agency in. It was more of a freelance basis, more consultations. And I thought from my side, I could bring in the business development experience and the sales experience and leadership, whereas Josh is fantastic at getting these brands amazing results. You know, he spent a crazy amount of money on the platforms, like $20-30 million, probably way more than that at this point, on Facebook specifically, to get these direct-to-consumer brands just incredible results. So I knew that he could deliver. And that was 14 months ago. We rebranded the agency. And ever since then, you know, we're now working with over 20 brands. I think it's 22 at the time of recording, all multi-7, 8-figure brands. We built the whole thing from cold outbound. Now we're starting to get a lot more referrals. And we focus on Facebook, TikTok, and now more into the UGC content side of things. So it's been a bit of a crazy ride. We actually, the fact I'm in New York, as we said before we start recording, we actually met. It's crazy. We've been building the agency 14 months. We met for the first time in person last week, which was amazing. It was really good to kind of bring that all together. And so, yeah, it's been a hell of a ride, and I'm really looking forward to 2023. We've got some big things planned.
Awesome. So first, I mean, you literally met for the first time last week.
Yeah, we've been building the agency remotely. And to be honest, I'd actually known Josh for about 4 or 5 years. The reason why I reached out to him is we were all business partners on a different project. And I just wanted someone I could really trust, as well as the fact I knew we could get the results. But yeah, first time meeting, building these companies remotely. It's crazy, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
So you talked about Facebook and TikTok and
content.
user-generated content, right?
Yeah.
What does, I mean, there's not really a one-size-fits-all type thing, but what does a general strategy look like? Like if we were trying to make a generic strategy, like what would that entail?
So just to clarify, are we talking about a marketing strategy for a direct-to-consumer brand? Because it depends
paid
on
social for D2C, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it depends on a lot of variables. I did a post on LinkedIn the other day, I think, saying you only need 4 things really to scale an ad campaign. I'm probably going to forget them now. That's offers, creative, landing pages, and unit economics. And actually, I'll say 5. I'll also add in retention. So if you get all of those things nailed, I mean, I'm happy to go into those in a lot of detail.
What was the 4th thing? I missed the 4th thing.
Yeah, so content, creative, landing pages, unit economics, and retention.
What is the unit economics?
Yeah. So your unit economics, you know, your margins, understanding those, understanding lifetime value, your average order value. Most brands don't understand what their true customer acquisition cost should be and how to really get that cash flow back within a 30, 60, 90-day cycle, which is why they run into a lot of issues on paid social. So before you start scaling, you need to know those numbers inside out, especially with the fact that the ad costs are all rising now in the space and there's a lot more competition.
Yeah, so for things like lifetime value, coming in like a startup, if a startup direct-to-consumer brand was like, how would they go about kind of estimating what that might look like in the beginning?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, I'd say one thing that a lot of people don't think about, which it is in, like, you can't see it in the numbers, but you can see it with market research and understanding who your customer is actually just the lifestyle around your product. So, for example, we work with a lot of supplement brands. Within 60 days, they're definitely more likely to buy the product twice, especially if it has, let's just say 30 tablets in it. But with a fashion brand, they're less likely to buy a new pair of shoes within 60 days because that's probably just a one-off purchase. So I think, as well as thinking about just the numbers, which obviously they can do their own market research on similar brands, you also need to think about how the customers and how that group of people are going to use that product. And that's obviously by talking to the community. And let's be honest, you shouldn't really be launching a product if you don't understand the community or group of people that you're going after. You're never going to have success if you do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you get into search and shopping at all as far as like Google?
No, we understand the relationship between, because obviously we look at things from a macro perspective. I'm not sure I mentioned this in our previous email chats, but as opposed to looking at everything on single channel attribution, and it's more important than ever in a post-iOS world, looking from a macro perspective. So all marketing budget in, all revenue generated out. So we understand that when we drive and scale a lot on Facebook, it's more of a discovery channel. Whereas Google is definitely more intent-based. So we see the correlation between the increase in ad spend on Facebook and then the increase in search volume. So we don't run the Google search, not again at the time recording, but we understand how impactful that relationship can be. And we like to talk to the brands who work with and work with potentially their agencies or in-house marketing teams to make sure that we're congruent on both fronts so we can maximize, those discovery channels and obviously the entire customer journey.
Yep, got it. And could you speak to the percentage wise as far as I guess overall ad budget when you're typically working with companies? I mean, I'm sure it varies, but how much are they allocating for what you're working on?
What, in terms of how much they allocate to Facebook and other channels?
Yeah.
So
is it like 50% of their budget or?
Yeah, so we work with a real range of brands, anywhere from 5 to up to 50 million in revenue right now. So if for example, they've got some investment behind them and they can go a lot faster, we're spending a lot on all platforms. So probably if we're just talking about acquisition channels and social media, the main ones now are obviously TikTok, Google, YouTube, not so much, and Facebook. You're probably looking at still about 60, 70% on Facebook, 20, 30% Google, and then 10% on TikTok. They're the kind of ballpark ranges to the bigger brands. Now, for the smaller ones, sometimes, we can be doing more on Google because obviously it's good profit if they want to bring some cash in, especially at the start. And then again, with TikTok, that really depends on the brand because it could be a new brand that can really work on TikTok and can have that virality aspect, but that doesn't work for all brands. So that might be then 60, 70% of the budget on TikTok. But again, we need to be, the reason why I'm being very, in the way I'm delivering those answers is I think a lot of people want, what's the percentage? I'm going to take that. It doesn't work like that. It's way more complicated and black and white. So I want to be careful when I'm throwing those numbers out there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally does. Yeah, I was listening to a podcast recently, and the name is slipping my mind right now, but it was a protein powder brand, and they do DTC, and they've done all of their sales through TikTok. So it was interesting to
exactly.
Gone into
exactly.
Yep, and they've done really well too.
Yeah, here's the big thing that most brands don't realize about TikTok, and I've just come to this realization within the last few weeks. So TikTok is fantastic for new audiences and obviously cheaper attention. But the thing that most people don't realize is the algorithm is way less mature than Facebook. Now, how's that going to affect your time and money? Well, you're going to need to produce a hell of a lot more creative because the algorithm finds it harder to latch on to a certain data set of people within their ecosystem compared to Facebook, which most people don't forget. It's over 20 years old now. So it's a very mature algorithm. And I know I've spoken to some people quite high up in TikTok that it's a bit of a mess, to be honest, the back end. They need to sort out their ad platform so they can keep up with how fast the platform's growing, because that's obviously how they're going to fund it. But they're finding it quite difficult. So the amount of more creatives, like the amount of time and money, I'm sure you guys are aware of what it takes to get that volume of creative that's needed to have success on TikTok. That is really expensive, and it's obviously very time consuming. So I think most people don't take that into consideration, and then they go into TikTok thinking they can do the same creative side of things as Facebook. Complete different monster, and it doesn't work like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and speaking of creatives, like what does that look like for your the brands that you work with? Are the brands themselves working on the creatives, or the outsourcing? Are you guys helping? Like, how does the creative side of thing work?
Yeah, so honestly, the way it started out is the brands provided us with the content, and that still works to an extent. But I'll be honest, the biggest thing that moves the needle is creative and creative testing. But the way that that's done properly is the feedback loop between the media buying team and the creative team. Now, if we don't have that in-house as an agency, it becomes really hard, because obviously for brand owners and for brands, companies we're working with are usually 10 to 20 employees. They've got a lot on their plate. They're a startup, right? So the time it takes for them to give us the feedback we need, it's too long for testing, especially when you're spending hundreds of thousands a month on ads. So we've realized we need to take that process in-house. And the other thing is obviously a lot of brands, they make great content, but actually what drives the needle, and we can talk about this in more detail, is the hooks, the scripting, the storytelling. And really, if it's a smaller company, it's going to be more direct response focused, more on the pain points, especially as we're now going into a recession. So we can do that because we've got copywriters in-house, and it's hard to direct that if it's outside of our control. So now what we're doing is we're taking the whole thing in-house. We've built relationships with UGC creators. We've got the script writers, and we're now controlling that whole process. So we're making that transition. And by the way, for anyone out there who's going to take on that challenge, trust me, it's a really complex operation.
Yeah. No, it's, that's one of our biggest struggles with clients is getting that content, and they'll give it, sometimes some months they'll be good at it, and then just months and months will go by and they're not giving us anything else. So
yeah, exactly. And that's where it affects our process. And now, because you guys are, I'm sure, very familiar, it's so directly correlated to the results. It's almost like we can't set KPIs without knowing that we're in control of the content, because that's the biggest needle mover right now. A lot of our some of our biggest brands that we're running with, they have 3 to 4 campaigns spending hundreds of thousands a month, because they're just set up for volume of creative testing.
Yep. So yeah, speaking of e-commerce, what platforms are you on? Is it just Shopify, or do you do other working in?
Yeah, we have experience with a few different platforms, but it's 95% Shopify. I've done a bit of e-commerce and whatnot, but the ecosystem's just better built, and it's reporting's better. You guys are probably well aware. It's just the best platform right now.
Yep. Yeah. No, it is. I'm interested to dive into Adobe Commerce a little more and see how that is. The Magento's new version is on Adobe. So
yeah, for sure. Again, when we're spending hundreds of thousands a month, we haven't really got the luxury to not know the process of how the back end works. So we need to see it working. Again, what I always say is it's great when it works at smaller level scales of traffic, but a lot of these platforms, when you put loads of traffic through, and by the way, I understand these guys have got massive clients too, but when we look across the board, Shopify handles traffic usually better. You know, when we talk about page score and things like this, these are all the indicators that feed back into the Facebook algorithm to make it a better user experience. So for running high volume of traffic, we just want to go with the trusted platform and not really take bets on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Does Alpha focus mainly on strategy or any on-site technical implementation? You work with feeds and product data and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously on the technical standpoint, we're actually running all the campaigns on the social platform, so managing the ad accounts, but it is mainly strategy. Now, when I say in terms of looking at things from a macro perspective, I think we've understood as well, now that the competition is higher, not only the content and the UGC needs to be on point, it's the landing page and the congruency of that customer journey, which is so important. So one of the strategies we often take is, let's just say, for example, we make 3 different concepts around 3 different pain points for a specific product, whether that be a supplement product or whatever. Then from that, on the landing page, we'll have their team, or we'll like connect them with one of our partners to build out a specific landing page, focus on one of these pain points that we're driving from the content. And the headline will be literally to do that exact pain point. There'll be nowhere else they can click on the landing page. It'll be a long form landing page, depending on how much the product obviously costs, how cold the traffic is. And then it'll take them through like a story, probably of a customer, for example, expand on those pain points, go into the benefits, all the rest of it, social proofing, all of Cialdini's principles. And then at the end, it will give them an option to buy the product. And if it's a supplement product, give them an option to buy more to increase the average order value. We've seen that massively impact the sales, especially on cold at scale. If you get the right landing page on the right pain point and it's got complete congruency, you can get cold traffic converting up to 5-6%, and that's like a 20K a day in spend. So this is the new way to do it. Like CRO is such an important part of the game, but it's the congruency from the UGC content to the landing page and really segmenting it out per product, but not only per product, per angle, like per pain point or per benefit. The more we can go into that, the better we're going to be able to get hyper personalized. And that's what we need to do in a day and age when competition is just so fierce. You can't get away as much now just running everything to the same product page. The glory days of Facebook are over.
Makes sense. So with CRO, are you using any special tools for that? Or like you said, you mentioned having the clients kind of build out another page. Are you using any special tools for CRO?
Yeah, so we've used Shogun, but to be honest, the best, that was in the past really. The fastest pages are built custom into Shopify. Okay. So we're actually connected with a partner, a team of developers, and they custom code these landing pages. Now the smart move, and we actually got this strategy off a brand called MyObvi, if you know those guys. They did like 30 million in 30 months. I'm good friends with the CEO there, Ronak. And essentially what they do, which is so clever, is they build the template of a landing page and they custom code that into the back end of Shopify. But then they make it so they can switch out different parts of the headlines all the way down the page. So if they've got a particular angle or pain point, within 10 minutes, they can literally just switch that angle around. So if you go, for example, to their Facebook ads library, you click through and you go to a different landing page, but it's pretty much all the same apart from one headline or image halfway down the page. And this is how at speed and at scale, you can get that, customization, but so it's, from a resourcing standpoint, it doesn't take like 3 hours every single time you put a new ad up.
Right. Yeah, that's clever. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah. So that's the angle and approach we've taken. Some other things we've seen that are great and we're exploring more now, because by the way, I think most people really undervalue how important copywriting is. And especially on cold audiences, again, depending on how much your product costs, if it's going to cost like $10, of course, it's not going to be important, but that's going to be hard to sell at scale on Facebook anyway. Most of our products' average order values are over $50 now. We don't work with many brands that aren't. Scalability, it's just not there. But if it's over $50, advertorials, listicles are really good for converting cold audiences. And especially we're more focused on health and wellness brands. We can really get into those pain points. I can appreciate that for a fashion brand, for example, it's not going to be as easy to do that. But that's a little bit more brand and lifestyle anyway.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Can you speak a little about new customer acquisition versus customer retention focus, and how do you find the balance?
Yeah, so this is something that I've been exploring more recently. I was actually just at an event in Nashville, was it last week or the week before, called Geek Out? And there was a guy there called Jimmy from an email company that's called SendLane. You should check those.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've seen him before.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. But he was talking about, and I think the guys from Gorgeous were there as well.
Yep.
And they work with some amazing brands. That the last decade was all about acquisition. The next decade is all about retention. Now, obviously we're an acquisition team. So how does that affect us? And I was thinking about it the other day, and I wrote about something on LinkedIn, which is actually the smart play to do. If you do all of the stuff that I said and do all of your research properly, is to acquire customers that retain themselves. Because if you think of, let's just say someone, like if you've got a supplement product, and you go after a specific group of people who are very conscious about their health, they've already subconsciously committed to that kind of lifestyle, they will be going to buy those products anyway. And you don't need to rely on like very direct response emails and all the rest of it to retain them, instead of just, going broad, acquiring anyone, and then having to retain them afterwards. My thing is reverse that process and acquire customers through doing more research, more segmentation, better content, better CRO, and acquire customers that are going to retain themselves, and then add in all your retention strategies off the back of it. So that's my take. And yeah, if you skip that step, you're going to find it much harder, because you need to make sure that every single dollar counts more than ever. So that's my take on it.
Wow, I love it, man. I'm going to go back and listen to this one again after this podcast. It's great.
Yeah, for sure.
What are your favorite tools for measuring brand awareness efforts?
So what do you mean by brand awareness?
So like Matt, do you want to come in here on this one?
Yeah, I guess just as far as like, just seeing how the brand is being talked about. I mean, are you guys monitoring brands kind of, being spoken about on in social and that kind of thing?
I mean, right now, brands are working with us mainly to drive sales. Brand awareness obviously comes off the back of that in terms of the community they build and the people they want to acquire. But for me, the big brand awareness play, if we're linking that back to customer acquisition and retention, which is obviously more analytical, is what are the retention rates like? Because look, at the end of the day, let's be honest, the hidden secret behind marketing, and the thing that's actually the biggest driver in all of marketing, is word of mouth. Now, that's the hidden factor behind the real big ROAS. Because if you acquire, like I said, if you acquire that customer who really loves that kind of product because it's that specific group of people, they're more likely to tell 5 people about that product. So if we can see that the retention obviously maintains or increases with the amount of new customers that come in the door, we now know that those customers are obviously buying more products, and they're also telling their friends about it. And of course, there's other lagging indicators, like we can do customer surveys. We can do see how many people are in their Facebook groups and all these other things, obviously, like the followers on Facebook, the comments, all these kind of things. But for me, the true thing is like the referrals and the retention rate for the business. And again, that's where you don't see that straight up when you're just acquiring customers at a certain cost in terms of doing all of that extra research. But 1-2 years down the line, that it really matters.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I guess speaking of brand awareness, I know with us, we do run some campaigns that is just kind of are all about brand awareness. Do you have a split where you're like, okay, let's do 20% on brand awareness and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the only ones that we do for brand awareness, really, there's 2 things, and it's not it's a little bit more nuanced. So one is we actually start to drive now more ads to Amazon. So you guys know Amazon, I'm assuming, but essentially if you
Amazon,
Amazon, So if we can, we drive in traffic to an Amazon listing, and then obviously they get that external traffic to the Amazon platform, it drives up their organic listing, and they're going to make a ton more sales. So, and you can now do deep linking on Amazon. So we're actually looking at doing that from TikTok and Facebook. That's a new thing, so I don't have that much information on, but I see that as a big cross-channel thing, which is kind of brand awareness. And then the other thing we do, a lot of the brands we're working with are expanding more into wholesale. So one of the things we found really cool, and you can check this out from some other brands, is actually having someone walking into the wholesale store, showing where the product is on the shelf, especially on TikTok. This works great. And then running that as an ad on TikTok, talking about like this product that's changed my life, whatever, where it is in the store. And then usually it's placed in if it's like, for example, in a Walmart store, it's going to be very similarly positioned in all the stores. So then people know they've already seen it on TikTok. You've got that awareness. And then obviously you can tell their friends or whatever. And we've seen success with that.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like you can't, the other platforms TikTok is like perfect for that.
Yeah, exactly. You can do it on Instagram as well, but yeah, you're right. TikTok's definitely that. And obviously we're trying to think of things that have that, virality factor. And that obviously for us is the awareness play.
Yep.
Cool.
Cool. Last question before we get into the rapid fire section. I guess 2 marketing tools that you couldn't do without.
Yeah, very good question. So one is Triple Whale. I don't know if you guys use Triple Whale.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, you know what? We've tested with it for one of our clients, and we had some problems with it, but I mean, it's super powerful. We wish we could get more of our clients on it.
Oh yeah, you should get them to talk to me, Matt.
Okay.
No, but in all seriousness, Triple Whale's really good, especially for really calculating that marketing efficiency ratio. And obviously it provides you with the LTV numbers, the breakdowns on different time frames, and they're also bringing out a whole host of other products. So that's good. Then another one that I've been talking to recently, that actually this isn't for me as a marketer, so this is going to be more for brands, but it's actually a credit card company called Parker. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're specifically Shopify brands. Yeah, so I met one of the execs there for lunch the other day, and they do net 60-day payment back terms. They have fantastic integrations with Shopify. And also they've got a much bigger credit line than, even like the big card providers out there. So I'd definitely check out Parker. That's been a game changer for a lot of our brands. Obviously, considering that 60-day net payment, like with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that's been a big one. Then the other one that I'll talk about, and I do actually know the CEO personally. I'm not affiliated to them, but they're a really great bunch, and it's been incredible for CRO, is VideoWise. So what VideoWise do is shoppable videos. So any of your videos on your site, they can change those videos to make them shoppable. So when your customers are inside the video, they've got the opportunity to purchase. Now, let's just say there's a brand, 8-figure brand we're working with right now called Xmahoney. In 30, these guys get a shitload of traffic. And within 30 days, just installing this product increased the conversion rate by 1% site-wide, which for me is amazing. So yeah, I definitely check those guys out. I think that if we look at the Asian market and see how social commerce and live selling is kind of coming into play, very different than the Western culture. But I think shoppable videos is the first step in that direction. And I think as well as at Amazon Unbox last week, I really feel like this is where e-commerce is going to go. And this is one of the first apps that I see trending in that direction. And these guys are serious. Like they're working with Dr. Squatch, all these incredible brands. So yeah, I check those guys out. It's been amazing for us.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
Probably should get affiliated, actually, shouldn't I?
Awesome.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, let's jump. No problem. We'll start with the rapid fire. So yeah, just kind of quick answers. I'll go ahead and start. Favorite DTC brand?
Favorite DTC brands? I'm going to have to go with eczema honey. I've been a sufferer of eczema all of my life. I reached out to the brand to tell them, I know it's quick fire, but it's a cool story. I reached out to the brand owner because I said I was so impressed by their copywriting. And then he refunded the products. We had a conversation and we're now working with them. I met them in New York last week. Most incredible brand owner. His name's Manesh. And the products have changed my life. I've tested every single product on the market. Nice. And this product has solved my eczema after 31 years. And now we're working with them. So it's a dream.
Okay. What's the name of them again?
Eczema Honey Co.
Eczema Honey. Okay. Got it.
Any mentors or people in the social space that you've learned a lot from?
Yeah. So say learn a lot from, I mean, quantify that. I only had one real conversation with him. We've been having emails back and forth, but I had the pleasure of doing a podcast with Drew Green, who is the CEO of Indochino. That guy just blew my mind. Like the kind of stuff he was talking about. If you don't know his story, you should check him out. I mean, this guy was offered a CEO role at one of the top divisions at Amazon, turned it down, went to Indochino that were going, they were really having issues at the time and it was going south like that, the company. Within 6 years, he's turned the whole thing around and they're now doing like, I think 150 million a year. They were trying to open 100 showrooms post-COVID in 1 year, which is just insane. Like the guy's on a different level.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll definitely check him out. Top 3 productivity apps to use.
I think I've loved Asana. It's been great for that side of things. I know I'm going very businessy here. Then the other one's been Airtable, because from a content perspective, the reporting off that, from a resourcing standpoint, it's really powerful Airtable. So I definitely check that out. And then the other one from a personal standpoint has been the Aura Ring, which I'm wearing here, which obviously monitors and tracks your sleep. So that's been a good one too.
Interesting.
Got it.
What's your favorite coffee shop in London? Are London is where you hail from originally? Or
no, it's actually Manchester. So
Manchester,
favorite, but I've not lived there for about 5 to 10 years. So I'm going to find it hard to answer that question. It's
make it New York.
Yeah, go for it.
How about New York? Favorite coffee shop in New York?
I was just gonna say I'm gonna embarrassingly have to say, because there's one literally just outside, and I've been going there a lot recently. There's a Dunkin' Donuts there.
Okay.
Yeah, there's too many of these guys around, but fair play to them. The coffee's actually not too bad. So I've been going to there a lot more out of convenience. So there's some great coffee shops across New York. I couldn't possibly name them all. We'd be here for hours.
Yep. Instagram versus TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quick fire round, so I'm going to have to say TikTok.
Okay, yeah.
I need to improve on my dances, though, Matt.
Yeah.
What's the least favorite part of your the work that you do?
Least favorite part, having to fire people.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Favorite part?
Favorite part is, so every single week we do this thing, and I actually got this off a guy called Cole Gordon, who runs an incredible sales team. And anyway, what it is at the start of each week, throughout our team, we all come together and we do a shout out to one other team member. So you just have to shout something out from one team member. It can be anyone, on just something that you really admired that they did in the last week. And obviously now our team's 15 people. I don't know exactly what's going on, but just to hear the admiration that people have cross team, no matter where they are in the hierarchy, that's really good. And to see smiles on people's faces, that's what takes you through having to go through all the crap every day. So I love that.
Nice. Favorite interview that you've done in your podcast recently?
Drew Green.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to check that one out. Last question. Best subject line for cold emails.
I would, honestly, about 6 or 12 months ago, I would have said quick question, but now every single cold emailer is using quick question. So I actually saw some guy who put on LinkedIn the other day, why don't you use the subject line, not a quick question? So I'm thinking I might try that because that would be good in the inbox right now.
Awesome. Well, great. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social, your website?
Yeah, for sure. So personally for me, and I talk about all the paid social stuff, if you just Google Nigel Thomas and Alpha Inbounds, I should be the first search result on Google. I hope I am. And just go to LinkedIn, and I post every single day about the truth behind paid social, what we're doing, the strategies we're using, and really uncovering some of the myths in the space. And if you're interested in working with us or finding more about Alpha Inbound and what we do, it's alphainbound.com. Just go to the website. You can schedule a call there and we can have a chat.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I mean, I know we could probably have you on. Maybe we'll have you on in the future, go in a little deeper.
Likewise. Really, thanks for having me here, guys. It's been a great time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Shoponomics, brought to you by eMarketed. Please make sure to share with your friends and rate us on your favorite podcast player. If you listened to the show today, make sure you watch the show next time on Spotify or YouTube. If you'd like to be on the show, please send us a DM on Twitter @_Shoponomics. And to learn more about growing your business, visit emarketed.com. Until next time.